Welcome to Wes Explains Best. Today we're doing a Khan Academy tutorial on negative exponents. So let's go ahead and get started. So the question asks, select the equivalent expression. Y to the negative second power equals question mark. So let's break this down. First, we understand that y is our base and negative 2 is our exponent or power. This tells us what our repeated multiplication is. But how do you repeat multiply y times itself negative 2 times? What does that mean? Well, it's more of a notation than anything. The most common mistake I see is people that say, oh, it must mean negative y squared. Well, that's not true. If you wanted negative y squared, you would just write negative y squared, or you could write it, well, this would be a different thing. This would be negative y squared, which equals y squared. So you run into all kinds of problems when assuming that it's negative y squared. It's not the case, okay? So what is it? What does a negative exponent mean then? Well, a negative exponent is referring to a fraction, okay? Back when they were developing computers, it was much easier for a computer to read exponents than it was to have it read fractions with inputs and outputs. So this is what it means. Y to the negative second power is the same thing as 1 over y squared. 1 over y squared equals y to the negative second power. So what about x to the negative first power? Well, x to the negative first power is the same thing as 1 divided by x to the first power. It goes to the denominator. Okay? So anytime you have a negative exponent, it will go and convert to become in the denominator of a fraction with 1 as the numerator. So we're going to go ahead and look at our options here. And we see it cannot be square root of y. Square root of y is the same thing as 1 to the 1/2 power. It's not 1 over square root of y. That's the same thing as y to the negative 1/2 power. It's definitely C. So we're going to go with C. Okay, next question. So now we have 1 over 6 to the 5th power. What does that mean? Well, we just talked about negative exponents. So anytime we have an exponent in the denominator with 1 in the numerator, we're thinking negative exponents. So what negative exponent are we talking about? Well, our base is 6, and the exponent is 5. But because it's in the denominator, we're going to make it negative. So we're going to use our base, 6. We're going to use our power, our exponent, 5. But because it's in the denominator, we're going to make it negative. So 6 to the negative 5th is the same thing as 1 over 6 to the 5th power. It's not 1. 1 to the 5th power is just 1 over 6. That's not correct. It's not 6 to the 1/5 power. That's the same thing as the 5th root of 6. It's 6 to the negative 5th power. Option C again. Okay, now we have 5 to the negative second. Again, the way I like thinking of it is anytime you have a negative exponent, you're going to move it into the denominator of a fraction under 1. Okay, so just think automatically you're going to put it into the denominator. One of the problems I see often are my students go 5 to the negative second is 1 over 5 to the negative second. This cannot be true. How can these two values be equal? They can't. Okay, this is bad. You don't want to do that. So what they think is oh, I need to make it into a fraction, but then they forget to make it positive. The whole point is that a negative exponent is equal to a positive exponent as long as you put it in the denominator of a fraction. Okay, so that is going to be C for the 3rd time in a row. And then finally, we already recognize that 1 over a to the 7th is the same thing as a to the negative 7. So we're going to select that as our option. And there we have it. Well, I hope you found this a useful tutorial, and I wish you luck with your negative exponents. See you next time.